All right, here we go. This one's going to be a 357 SIG test. Today, we're going to be trying out some Underwood ammo. And that is a huge thank you to our good buddy, Mr. Felix, for sending this stuff in. Really appreciate it. Can't wait to see what this stuff can do. So that one is the 125 grain Spirit Gold Dot. So that thing looks like it is the 6-pedal Gold Dot. It is loaded in your nickel-plated brass and is rated at 1,475 feet per second. So we do have 3 different barrel lengths to try out today. So for the first one, that one is the Glock 33. That one does have that 3.42-inch barrel. For our second one, we are going to be using our Glock 32. That one has a 4-inch barrel. And for our last one, that one is the Glock 31. That one does have a full-size 4.5-inch barrel. So we'll be going through our gel. Those are 10% calibrated blocks. Do have our catch block behind that, so total 22 inches of gel, 4 layers of cotton tissue on the front, and like always, we'll set up our chronograph so you can hopefully pick up those impact velocities. So let's set up and see how this round does. All right, we're swimming back to 15 feet. All right, let's see what we did on that one. All right, so it looks like impact velocity on that one was 1301. So, not very impressive there. I hate to do it, but I bag on Underwood a lot lately just because they have, as of lately, I guess the past few years have just been super underloading stuff. I have tested this when it was, in its prime. We're getting about 1385-ish out of that short barrel. So 1301, pretty crazy, but, I guess still pretty decent. All right, and there's a hit on that block. Looks like I got a perfect shot. You see right down in there, a pretty decent star pattern so far. So let's check this one out from the top. Oh yeah, still not too bad. Regardless of the velocity, it's still doing pretty good. And, I was kind of surprised. I was expecting a lot more recoil on that one. Usually those things do hit pretty hard, but it did have some pretty mild recoil. But anyways, you can see that pattern going all the way through. Looks like it settled down a little bit towards the end and flatline. And there that slug is sitting right there in that second block. So that's always good to see. So let's see what kind of measurement we have here from the top. And from the top, we are right at just over 2¼ inches. So, definitely not too bad. We actually just tested some 9mm. I hate to compare this to 9mm, but we were right around that same 2¼ inch mark. So, but anyways, so you can see it here from the side, pretty much same thing, came in, opened up, and it did create a, pretty nice star pattern though, going all the way through, a nice track. And then, like I said, it did settle down maybe that last inch or so. We did make it into that second one. There it is sitting in that block. So let's see what kind of measurement we have here from the side. Looks like from the side we are around 2 1/8, so about an 1/8 inch less than that, top track, but still pretty darn good. Hopefully you guys are able to see that. It's facing downward, and at our leading edge there, we are right at 3 1/4 inches. So I made it 14 1/4 inches of total penetration. So we're gonna set it for that G32 and see how that one does. I'm really hoping we can get 3 shots in this block, but we'll see. We'll see how it does on this next shot. All right, we're sitting back to 15 feet. All right, let's see what we did on that one. All right, so it looks like our impact velocity on that one was 1490, so that's definitely a lot better. That first one was super low, and for that one to be up there like that, that's really good to see, especially out of a 4-inch. I do have another batch of this. This is the stuff that Mr. Felix sent us, and this one seems to be pretty spicy for that second shot at least. Of course, we'll keep going, but I do have an older batch as well, and we're getting right around that 1400 feet per second mark with the 4-inch. So good to see. It's definitely exceeding rated velocity on that one. All right, so there's the shot for that one. Looks like you got another really good hit. You can see right down in there, a lot better star pattern. So let's check this one out from the top. Oh yeah, I'm sure you can tell we definitely got a little bit wider stretch on that one. You can see it came in, opened up really nicely. Got some really distinct spiral cuts going through there. Same as that last one though, right around that last inch mark, it did start to settle down. And then that one did make it into that second block as well, sitting right next to that other one. And that one is on the right side. So see what kind of measurement we have here from the top. And it looks like we are just about 3 inches. So definitely good to see on that. So, you know, I got to give it to them now. So this one is loaded, you know, correctly. Anyway, so hopefully you guys can see this. Came in, opened up really nicely. You can see, you know, we do have a really wide spiral cut going through there. But, you know, carrying it all the way through that block. And then we did make it into that second one, so that's good to see. You know, I lately have been bagging on Underwood just because they've been, you know, underloading everything that they produce lately. But it's good to see that, you know, some of them are still right on par. But it looks like from the side we are right at 2 3/4 inches. So a little bit less from the side than the top, but not too bad. This one is facing away from us. Definitely looks like a little bit tighter fold back. But of course, that was expected. We did gain quite a bit of velocity, 190 feet per second, so that's great. And their leading edge right at 4 inches, so that one made it 15 inches of total penetration. So what we're going to do, we're going to try to sneak one right down the middle, coming the opposite way. I'm going to have to stand the block up just so we can get a little bit better view, but you know, we'll see what we can do. All right, we're sitting back to 15 feet. All right, let's see what we did on that one. All right, so it looks like our impact velocity on that one was 1469, so definitely a little bit less than that 4 inch. You know, it's kind of weird with Underwood. I have noticed that with its, I don't know, with the 4 inch, we're usually getting more than the full size 4.5 inch. You know, they're probably using that perfect, you know, super fast powder just to, that's optimum for that 4 inch barrel. They used to use 800X back in the day. I don't know if they're using a long shot or something now, but yeah, you know, still pretty darn good. All right, it looks like we were able to sneak that last shot in there. You can see where we hit it. Looking pretty good so far. You can see down in there and a nice star pattern. So we're not going to check it out from the top just yet. Well, I guess we are, but it's going to be from the side, just because, you know, if we look at it from the top, we're just seeing these other tracks. So we're going to go to the side, which is actually the top of the block, and look at it that way. So hopefully you guys are able to see that. It is this middle one going, or, you know, the one in the center going right down the middle. But, you know, looking really good. It looks like that thing came in, opened up really nicely, dumping a whole lot of energy. And then, you know, maybe that last half inch to inch or so, it did start to settle down a little bit. We did make it into our second block. So, like always, that is good to see. And let's see if we can get a measurement here from the side. And they did kind of collide a little bit, you know, with this shot. But that's okay. We can still get a pretty decent look, and it looks like we are just over 2 3/4 inches, so a little bit less than that one that was really moving, but you know, still good to see. And then you can see we do have 3 slugs down in there, and it is this one here on the top. And now we can kind of move this out of the way. But if this one looks like this one is facing towards us, and at our leading edge we are right at 3.5 inches. That's definitely really good to see. So I did have to put this last one on some styrofoam just to kind of raise it up a little bit, just because you know, we were going at a little bit different angle, but that's okay. So we're going to check these tracks out one more time from the top. All right, so here they are one time from the top. Hopefully this doesn't get too confusing, but I did flip the block back over. So this one here on the right was that first shot. That one was that out of that short barrel Glock 33. The one on the very left was that Glock 32, and then the one coming towards us was that Glock 31. So here is that Glock 33 shot. You see it came in, opened up really nicely, Getting some pretty good spiral cuts going through there. This is the one that was barely breaking 1,300 feet per second. Can't see it did slow down a little bit there towards the end, and it is that slug right there. You know, we have all three of them. It is that one there on the top. So here's that Glock 32 track. Pretty much same thing. Came in, opened up. This one was dumping quite a bit more energy, and you know, doing a little bit more damage coming through. Same thing, getting a whole lot of disruption through there. And then we did make it into that second block. It is that one right there in the middle. And then the very last one, this one is going towards the right now. That one was that Glock 31. Luckily, we were able to sneak that last one in there. And same thing, you know, that one was just shy of advertised and a little bit shy of that Glock 32 4-inch, but still doing some really good damage. And that one is right there on the top. So not too bad. So we're going to pull these rounds and see what they look like. All right, check these things out. Looks like they all did really well. So the one on the right was that Glock 33. One in the middle was that Glock 32. The one on the left was that Glock 31. So we did do a test like this. It's been a couple years now. And we did it with just your standard spear gold dot. And we pretty much got the same results, where the one in the middle, which was the 4-inch barrel, kind of did the best, which is just kind of weird, kind of surprising. But, you know, it is a pretty optimum barrel length for that. Really good for carry. But we'll check these out real quick. So this one was that Glock 33. Can see that thing opened up really nicely. Got that signature gold dot down in there. But you can see how far it peeled back. But, you know, did still, you know, very well, regardless of the velocity. And then here is the Glock 32. Same thing with that one. That one you can definitely tell it has a lot tighter profile on it. Once again, you can see that gold dot, and you can see on this one, pretty much peeled them all the way down close to the base of that bullet, but they are all full of gel. But did very, very well. That one was screaming too. And here's that Glock 31. Once again, same thing. You can see it was very close to the edge as well. Not quite as far as that 4-inch, but, you know, pretty darn close. But they all did very well. It's really fun. These are always fun. Anything 357 SIG is always my favorite. But check these out one time from the bottom. So the one on the right was that Glock 33, 32, and 31. And last time from the top. So like always, we'll get our still shot, slow-mo, everything here at the end. Once again, thank you, Mr. Felix, for sending this stuff out and, you know, letting us be able to test this, because it was definitely a fun one. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. All right, so here's that cross-section for that first shot. This one was at Glock 33. So you can see a really nice star pattern going on. Really, really deep cuts. It is a little bit messed up right here just because one of the paths did end up colliding. You know, but the main part of it is right there. You definitely can see the difference. The same thing over here. Really good looking path. So I did remeasure these. They are peaking and averaging at the same at 2 3/4 inches. So it's definitely very impressive. So let's cut it open. All right, so here's after being cut. So the bottom is the right side and the top is the left. So pretty much on impact, maybe that 8 1/4 inch mark, you can see it starting to open up. You can see that wide path going all the way through. And you can see that nasty tearing going on. Really, really deep cuts. You can see a little bit of fabric down in there. But yeah, that's some nasty stuff for sure. This one wasn't moving as fast as we would really hope for it to, you know, at that 1,300 foot per second mark, but that's okay. It still did really well here in the gel. So same here on the top, came in, opened up. You can see that path once again. And same thing, man. It did actually drag in some of that fabric, which is kind of surprising because those are very shallow hollow point cavities, but looks like it was able to catch some on the way in. And yeah, you can just see those nasty cuts. Definitely some pretty good stuff for sure. Excuse me. One day I'm sure they'll bring those back. I've been reloading myself and getting excuse me, quite a bit more velocity, so I'm not really too worried about it. But you know, they were cool when they were around. But anyways, that one was that first shot. All right, so here's that second shot. This one was that Glock 32. So this one was definitely a little bit more impressive. We got quite a bit more velocity in that short barrel, of course, you know, only 1/2 inch difference, but we definitely gained quite a bit. I believe we're right around 1490-ish, which is, you know, really good. But you can see some nasty cuts down in there. Really tearing this stuff up. Same over here. Really, really big split. So I did remeasure these. They are peaking and averaging at the same, right at 3 inches. So I believe, you know, we're about 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch more than that last one, which doesn't seem like a lot, but you know, this thing was definitely dumping that energy for sure. So let's cut it open. All right, so there's after being cut. So the bottom is the right side and the top is the left. You can definitely tell, you know, the damage is a little bit crazier once we cut it open. But basically same as that last one, right? That 1/4 inch mark started to open up. Pretty much immediate expansion. And same thing, huge splits. There is quite a bit more of that fabric that this one's bringing in as well. But yeah, those splits are definitely pretty nasty. Pretty impressive stuff. So here's that top, same thing, came in, opened up really nicely. And man, that thing is really dumping a lot of that fabric in this gel. Kind of surprising, but you can see those nice wide splits, man. Very impressive stuff for sure. So we'll do one more quick angle, just so we can see what's really going on. You can see how deep those cuts are. Really nasty stuff. Like I always say, man, those gold dots just do a great job and are very uniform in this gel. Definitely some nasty stuff. So that one was that second shot. All right, and here's that cross section for that last shot. This one was that full size Glock 31. So this one is very identical to the last one. You can see that nasty splitting going on. There's kind of a chunk coming out over here. It's because those pass did kind of end up colliding. You know, like I said, it was pretty difficult to get those 3 shots, especially with this kind of power that it is dumping in this block, but we were still able to do it. But you can see those massive splits. Same over here on this side. So I did remeasure these. They are exactly the same as the last one, peaking and averaging right the same at that 3 inch mark. So definitely very impressive, and I believe it was only 20 feet per second or so, you know, difference. So really not, you know, enough difference to make a difference, but pretty good stuff. So let's cut it open. All right, so here's after being cut. So the bottom is the right side and the top is the left. So literally exactly like the rest of them, came in right at that 1/4 inch mark, opened up, and creating that same kind of, you know, unique path going in there. I'm pretty surprised on how much fabric this stuff is actually dragging in. Like I said before, these are very shallow hollow point cavities, but it's cool to see that, you know, it drug so much, but they're still performing as they should. Didn't clog them or anything, but really nasty stuff. Same on this top side, came in, opened up. You can really see that path over here, and once again, man, just dragging in a ton of that fabric and messing up these blocks, creating all kinds of damage. Let's do one more quick angle. This one's barely hanging on as well, so we'll just do a quick look. But you can see those nasty splits going on. A lot of damage you can see right there. It just came apart. And same over here. Really big splitting. So that one was that full size. That was the Glock 31 4.5 inch barrel. Once again, Mr. Felix, we really appreciate you sending this stuff out. This stuff is always fun to test. Anything 357 SIG, you know, of course we love. So definitely a fun one. As always, guys, thanks for watching.